The equivalent for men is conscription into the army. But even though you may not wish to be in the army, once you are in, your food, clothing, lodging, and medical care are covered by the taxpayer. Has any state offered to supply similar goods and services to women and girls pregnant against their wills? Not to my knowledge. They want to force women to give birth and also to incur the expense of prenatal and postnatal care. If states are serious about the ownership of women's bodies and about forcing women to give birth against their wills, they ought to pay for this imposed service. Gilead does. 3. Could it be that the criminalization of reproductive rights practices is a profit-making scheme? In what places are there prisons for profit? Is there a correlation between this form of quasi-slavery and restricted reproductive rights? I'd be interested to find out. In Argentina, which provided some of the real-life practices embedded in The Handmaid's Tale, notably the baby stealing carried out under the generals, Belén's plight had a spotlight shone upon it, forcing a review and ultimately an acquittal. But this happened only after years of suffering on Belén's part, and then only due to a massive protest against the denial of proper due process to this woman by a group of activists determined to reverse this instance of bad justice. In this way, at least, Argentina is not Gilead. Gilead would not tolerate such a protest. How many other Beléns are there in the world? How many women have died because they were afraid to go to a hospital while miscarrying, terrified that they would be charged with murder? How would we know? And so often when it comes to women, injustices are hidden from view, buried in silence and euphemism. We owe a debt of gratitude to those who uncovered this one injustice, at least. 1. Station stories. In train stations, there are many people hiding stories we aren't always prepared to hear. A woman in her 30s is at a clothing stall in the Constitución neighborhood of Buenos Aires. She wears her long, straight hair tied back and a pink bandana around her neck. April sales have been slow because of the economic crisis, freeing her up to watch the congressional debate about legalizing abortion on her cell phone. When Soledad Deza starts talking about the Belén case, she turns up the volume. I live in Tucumán. I'm a lawyer and a feminist from the province where Belén was imprisoned for 29 months for abortion after she miscarried in a hospital. Later, the women's movement helped free her. Marina, the salesperson in the next stall, is listening and says, I didn't realize that had happened in your province. Poor girl. Did you know her? No, big place and all, replies the young woman, who has started going by her real name again. The one she was arrested under about 4 years ago, after moving to Buenos Aires. Here in Buenos Aires, no one knows she is Belén. The woman is waiting for her shift to end so she can meet her lawyer, Soledad, who has brought her a copy of the final disposition issued by the Supreme Court of Tucumán, exonerating her of the charges for which she spent 2 years in prison in the outskirts of San Miguel de Tucumán. Belén needs this document because, according to the National Registry of Recurrence, she still has a criminal record. If she doesn't get it expunged, Belén may have a hard time finding a better job. Around that time of the afternoon, in the same room in Congress where Soledad spoke earlier that day, abortion opponents now take the stand. The lawyer Máximo Fonrouge, president of the Buenos Aires Bar Association, underscores the rights of flora and fauna to be protected, extending to embryos the same rights as trees and animals. He also mentions hedonistic temptation. Soledad is waiting for her on the corner of Avenida Callao and Avenida Rivadavia, outside the Congressional Palace. If there's one thing Belén doesn't like about this city, it's crowds, but she enjoys seeing girls sporting green bandanas and glitter. When she meets Soledad, some women walking beside her stop to say hello. Did they recognize me? I'm not ready for people to know who I am yet. Soledad laughs and tells her to relax. No, sweetie, they're saying hello to you.